Hello fellow raiders and welcome to my humble abode. Last time we discussed the 5 best puzzles in Rise of the Tomb Raider, and that was just the appetizers, see? Because today we're going to rank the 10 best DLCs in the most recent Tomb Raider trilogy.
Gonna be quite the climb.
When I say rank though, please understand that I did it in terms of gameplay more than story. For the same reason, I'm not interested in the outfits. I do that in a separate video, don't worry guys, you'll have your boob. Now, I'm not saying I actually endorse the DLC system, but I have to admit that DLCs, or expansions as they were called a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, DLCs can really improve on the main game, and this was the case for all the games in this video. All the DLCs can be found in the definitive editions of each game, and these editions are often on sale. So if you've bought the main game and the DLCs are not in there, maybe you should reconsider your consumer strategy, because yes, these DLCs are worth the 2 or 3 extra bucks, and it's nothing like when they first came out, when they were overpriced and the definitive editions did not exist. By the way, don't forget to check my other Top Raider videos, there'll be more in the future if you'll give me your support. Anyway, let's go. Let's start with the Tomb of the Lost Adventurer, Tomb Raider 2013. Tomb Raider 2013 had one DLC with an optional tomb, and that was it. Now, if you know me, you're probably aware that I'm not into that game at all. Seriously, I think it forever changed Tomb Raider as a franchise, both in a good and a bad way. Good because the design and gameplay of Tomb Raider games were reinvented, and bad because Tomb Raider was dismissed by many as, you know, an Uncharted clone. The Tomb of the Lost Adventurer was, in my opinion, the best thing that could happen to this game. It's an optional tomb, yes, and many will say it's useless, but the puzzle was decent and so was the design.
Now what?
It's time to solve that puzzle.
This DLC was the icing on a cake that felt very bittersweet. Cold Darkness Awakened, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Cold Darkness Awakened is probably one of the most original expansions to a Tomb Raider game we had so far. It brought back some of the madness that made 2 generations of Tomb Raider games so funny to play.
Hang on, you said not yet. Do you think we're at risk from the toxin after all?
Please stop talking.
It was a break from the realistic trend of the 2013 trilogy, but it was very limited in terms of scope. The purpose here is simply to make your way through a zombie-infested research center for whatever reason. Oh yeah, well, like I give a shit, and survive. The main focus is more on stealth than combat, and this is why Cold Darkness Awakened didn't make it higher in this list. See, before 2013 you didn't play Tomb Raider for stealth, you played for action, adventure, puzzles, platforms, boom. Cold Darkness Awakened offers very little in comparison, but hey, zombies, you should be excited. No offense, but zombies have been done to death. Oh wait, they have not. Price of Survival, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Hooray! Price of Survival is the first DLC from Shadow that made it into this list. Why is it here, you ask? Well, it was a very funny DLC to play. See, each DLC in Shadow of the Tomb Raider follows a pattern, and Price of Survival is the first one that tried to change it a bit.
You watch your tongue, my girl.
It's not revolutionary, but it made good use of gameplay mechanics present in the main game and improved upon them, as a DLC is supposed to do, you know? The perspective of solving a puzzle trapped in a deadly environment is probably why the Price of Survival is here, but it's a bit more than this. Let alone the action part, Price of Survival puts strong emphasis on puzzle solving, and combat is mostly limited to stealth, but, you know, you can still go Leroy Jenkins if you want. It also contains very beautiful areas for that matter, because yeah. Blood Ties, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Voila! If you're into vanilla Tomb Raider, you probably have fond memories of Lara's home. Well, this is exactly what this DLC is capitalizing on. Ah, these businessmen love your nostalgia, you know. Blood Ties lets you explore Lara's home again, but it's a bit different. Where's the f***ing fridge? You can go there anytime you want during your playthrough. This is like a separate game, but it ties in pretty nicely with the main story. Blood Ties is mostly a big puzzle filled with many references and Easter eggs. Exciting, isn't it? The downside is you don't have any enemy encounters at all. How come this DLC is in your top 10 if there's no combat at all then? Well, the puzzle was enticing and all the stuff you can find contributes to enrich the story of the main game.
Dad loved a good bottle of wine. I can still smell his favorite Bordeaux.
That's good to know.
It wasn't the best DLC, but it was a step in the right direction. The Serpent, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. It's not like the chronology matters at this point, but the Serpent was the 5th DLC that was released in the Great Shadow of the Tomb Raider DLC agenda. The Serpent is a mix of everything the game has to offer, but the most remarkable was, you guessed it, the Challenge Tomb. This is everything a Tomb Raider game should be, really. Well, on the larger scale, of course. You've got your main long-term objective, this tower, and you've got to find your way through a succession of shorter trials to get there and complete the challenge. The Serpent is a DLC that, I believe, contributed to the sense of grandeur Shadow of the Tomb Raider was trying to convey, and it fits in quite well with the main story, if that even matters. Lara's Nightmare, Rise of the Tomb Raider. Remember what I told you about Lara's Home, when I said they were capitalizing on players' nostalgia and stuff? Well, Lara's Nightmare was in fact a dream come true for many first-generation players. Lara's Home holds a very special place for anyone that played Tomb Raider back in the day, and the idea of having enemies barge into the manor isn't that new at all. Lara's Nightmare is like a minigame that has nothing to do with the main story, but hey, Lara's Home. Zombies. You kill the baddies, find your way in a very uncanny environment, find the big ones, kill the big ones, rinse and repeat. The focus is entirely on combat, but at least it's not forced down your throat. This is just here for you to have fun and test your skills.
You will awaken my rage, child.
The Path Home, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. You know, I have this theory about Shadow DLCs that the best ones were released midway in the chronology of the Great Shadow of the Tomb Raider DLC release schedule. Well, the Path Home is the only DLC to prove me wrong actually, probably because as the last DLC it had to bring the game to a conclusion, so they put much effort into it. The Path Home is, in my opinion, the closest thing you'll find to classic Tomb Raider gameplay. Fight me. The final puzzle is also very impressive, and it brought back some of the elements that made the first generation of Tomb Raider games so appealing to play, like exploration, traps, time runs, visual clues, stuff. The combat section is short, but also more original than in the other DLCs, as they try to change the formula a bit. And now you've got a good reason to use the photographer mode, other than for memes. Entrance mode, Rise of the Tomb Raider. I can feel your surprise from there. Oh wait, no, that's just my dog, he farted. How on earth can entrance mode be number 3, you ask? Well, because this is the most coherent thing I have ever seen in this trilogy. What was the keyword when they decided to reboot the entire franchise? Realism? Survival? How Lara came to be the psychopath we know. Hashtag a psychopath is born.
My warmth bar is nearly depleted. I need to find some fire quickly. Well, that looks promising. Well, I'm screwed.
Better.
still need to keep an eye out for places to warm up.
Endurance mode is there to test your skills, and that's the only reason why it's here. And of course, the longer you survive, the harder the task.
I suck.
There's also traps everywhere, and you must pay attention to everything in your environment if you want to survive. Like some other DLCs in this list, it's like a minigame inside the main game, and the cold landscapes of Siberia was an excellent choice in this regard.
Temperature's gonna drop. Got to get somewhere warm.
Okay, but let's kill a bird first.
The Nightmare. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. Now, a funny thought came to me. When I played these DLCs for the first time, in release order, it was hard to tell which was going to stand out. The Nightmare has everything it takes to make a DLC worth your time. It takes unexpected directions and offers you a mix of different gameplays, and among the most interesting ones, the combat section is fun and original. At some point you have 2 roads to reach the Valley of the Monkey Gods, and the final puzzle is just awesome. You know, I often think the Nightmare and the Path Home should have been part of the game, and that they were cut out at the last moment because hey, money is money. Playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider without the Nightmare is not a crime, but you're definitely missing something.
Made it. Let's see what we've got.
Baba Yaga, Rise of the Tomb Raider. The whole DLC is worth it. This is what I expect in a Tomb Raider game. Baba Yaga has a story of its own, and it concludes with one of the most engaging Tomb Raider boss fights I have ever seen, all games included, but especially in this trilogy.
You've got to stop her from cutting the rope. Stay down, damn it.
The DLC was broken into several parts, so you can play it anytime during your playthrough, like most of the DLCs in this list. What makes Baba Yaga even more worth it is that it breaks with the realistic diktat of this trilogy.
That's not possible. It's just a myth.
The Witch is also a reference to Russian folklore, which I think was a coherent way to enrich the universe of the game and blur the boundaries between fact and fiction, history and lore. See, Rise of the Tomb Raider was an in-between, and they knew that, but they couldn't just let go of what made Tomb Raider Tomb Raider. Pushing the boundaries of a game universe is one thing, but there's a way to do it, and Baba Yaga did it. You know, there was a time when Tomb Raider was not just trying to copy other games, a time when it created its own standards and there was a secret formula that made them work.
Hello there.
No, not you. I'm sorry.
But now for something completely different.
A short history of classic Tomb Raider DLCs with a French accent because I was asked to speak normally. Alright.
Alright.
The history of classic Tomb Raider DLCs began in 1998 with the release of Unfinished Business for Tomb Raider. They were seen as bonus levels, so they were free, and they expanded on the main story by taking up where Tomb Raider left. The levels were not as linear as in Tomb Raider, and the designers created vast spaces with a lot of puzzles, more enemies, and more traps. Then the Golden Mask came out. The Golden Mask was greatly influenced by the level design of Tomb Raider 3. It didn't have anything to do with the main story, but it pushed the boundaries of fiction even further.
This is gold!
The last expansion was the Lost Artifact for Tomb Raider 3, and it was the only one that wasn't free. But Tomb Raider 3 is already a great game. The Lost Artifact simply confirmed this. These games were crazy and you never knew what lurked behind the term adventure. But these expansions were for PC players, so many people don't care about them today and pretend they didn't exist. Yes, Watch Mojo, I'm looking at you. What, you thought PC Master Race was a myth? Don't worry, ma chère. Console players got their revenge, and it's called Underworld. Anyway, realism in Tomb Raider is like, say, pineapple on a pizza. That's not how it's done. What about you? Did you play any of the last trilogy DLCs? Did you like them or would you like to play them? How did you find my video, by the way? In any case, thank you for watching this. There's more content in my dedicated playlist if you want. If you're here, then you should probably consider giving me your sub. That would help me a lot. I publish top RAIDER videos every month or so, and if you have a knack for Lara Croft and her incredible adventures, if there's anything you'd like to see me cover, maybe you should stick around a bit, and remember,
Have fun.